Welcome back to another episode of Semmelweis STEMtalk. Our interview series is dedicated to brilliant minds and inspiring life stories of women in science and research. I'm Victoria, and I'll be your host for today. With us in the studio today, we have the incredible Dr. Angéla Jedlovszky-Hajdú. She's an associate professor and a group leader of the Nanochemistry Lab at the Department of Biophysics and Radiation Biology of Semmelweis University. She is also the president of the Association of Scientia Golden Medalists and the vice president of the Association of Hungarian Women in Science. The winner of multiple scientific awards, a nurturing mentor, an ardent supporter of women's roles in science, a passionate leader of her very own STEM-inspired community outreach project. And on top of all of these incredible things, she is also a loving mom. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Jedlovszky-Hajdú. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much for this incredible invitation.
Now, I must say, just the introduction itself was absolutely mind-blowing. And we would love to hear your life story and how you ended up pursuing a career in STEM.
It's a tricky situation because when I just finished my high school, actually, I had no idea what I want to be. So when I just marked the universities, it was also chemistry, also some gardening engineer and all the other stuff. So I really had no clue what I want to be. And when I started the university as a biologist, during the first year, it was obvious that it's not my way. So I changed for clinical chemistry. Actually, it was because one of my chemistry teachers just told me that she thought that maybe my passion is chemistry instead of biology. And actually, she was absolutely true. So after the first year, I changed my university studies and I finished with clinical chemistry. And actually, during my university years, I met with wonderful women who just showed me that the research is also as interesting as chemistry itself. So when I just finished the university, I had the question that what should I do? And my mentor just told me that there is this position in PhD, maybe you should think about that. And I said, yes, I have 3 more years to figure out what I want to be. So during this full university, I was, I did science, I did this TDK, this science research competition and everything. And when I just started the PhD, in the first year, I just figured out that this is what I want to be. The research is my life. And I also, all the time, natural science was my favorite, but I never knew that which part. And clinical chemistry was a special, let's say, combination of chemistry and medical biology. So we learned a lot of different courses with the medical students. So I realized that biology is still my passion, but not in the, let's say, plants version, but the human version. So that was how I just became a clinical chemist and a PhD. And actually, during my whole life, both of my parents are engineers. My brother is an engineer. My sister-in-law is an engineer. So actually, everybody was in the natural science. So it was not difficult to step in that area.
Wow, that sounds really incredible. And were there any challenges on this journey of yours?
Challenges. There was plenty of it. Especially when you realize that during my first year in the biology, I had many failures in the biology part, but I have a lot of good feedback from the chemistry part. And for me, it was a difficult situation that I'm not finishing something. Because in my point of view, if I'm not finished something, I'm a failure. So I have to work on that if I'm just changing my orientation and I'm changing a little bit what I want to be, it doesn't mean that I'm a failure. I just figured out that what is my way. So that was the first challenge for me. And after, in the clinical chemistry course, it was funny because we started 15. So 15 students start that special course and just 3 of us finished.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a little bit harsh situation, but I loved all the university years. It was very nice. And when I started my PhD, my supervisor at Elka, she is an incredible woman also. So she gave me a lot of advice, not just about science and how to do research, but also how to manage life with doing research and have a family next to it. So it helped a lot to be the person who I am today. And I remember that when I finished my PhD and I was looking for a position in Semmelweis University, she just told me and advised that if you start your work, never show everything from you, because in that case, everybody will think that this is the normal and they want more and more. And you can work a lot, but if this is the basic, very soon you will have 150% and 200% and so on and so on. So she just advised me, just at first, do it as a little bit lower than as you are doing usually, and you will figure out how it will work. It never happened, so I couldn't do like that. So very soon.
Did you go for 150 straight away?
Yes, exactly, exactly.
I think that is very good advice. I've never thought about it before, but now that you mentioned it, it actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Absolutely. So now you are the leader of the Nanochemistry Lab,
exactly,
right? And you specialize in college sciences, mixing and merging the sciences of chemistry and medical biology. You work a lot with nanocomposites, which are these polymer-based scaffolds that can incorporate various drugs, nanoparticles, and things of that nature. Could you please elaborate a little bit on your research and its practical applications?
So during my PhD, I worked with magnetic nanoparticles and we created magnetic fluids. And actually it's useful in MRI as a contrast agent, and also it's working as a magnetic hypothermia effect, which means that we can use an alternating magnetic field and we can locally heat up and, let's say, induce some fever locally in the special area, in a special tissue. So in that case, we can, let's say, kill some cancer cells because they are more sensitive for heat than the healthy cells. So that was the basic what I did during my PhD. And when I joined to the laboratory of nanochemistry, my boss was in the polymer science. So he told me that, of course, you can work with the magnetic particles if you have some free time, but in your full time, please focus on the polymers. So at that time, I just start working with electrospinning, which is a special technique, special nanotechnology technique to create nanometer fibrous diameter scaffolds. And these kind of scaffolds are very similar to the extracellular matrix. Extracellular matrix built up from collagen fibers, and we are creating a special polymer, which is polyaspartic acid based polymer. So it's very similar like what we have in our body. And our main focus is, in the beginning was we tried to create some hernia mesh from that scaffold. But very soon it turned out that the mechanical properties is not good enough to, let's say, bear the situation as a hernia mesh. But we had a really nice collaboration with Dr. György Weber. And after it turned out that there is plenty of medical application where this mechanical strength is not that important. So we turned to create some drug delivery systems, which can use like a patch. And we just incorporated some drugs on there and also nanoparticles, because nanoparticles has different let's say, behaviors up to what kind of particles we are using. The magnetic is also good, as I mentioned, for MRI and for hypothermia, but we also use some other particles like silver nanoparticles or zinc oxide nanoparticles, which has antibacterial effect. And of course, you can hear it during the news that we had plenty of difficulties with the MRSA bacteria, these multi-drug resistant bacteria, which we cannot handle with antibiotics. But that kind of bacteria are sensitive for the nanoparticles. So our focus just turned a little bit to, let's say, create some kind of wound dressing application, because in that case, this mechanical strength is not that important like for the hernia mesh. So now what we are doing is to try to create a scaffold which contains drug and also some nanoparticles. And the drug mostly is some anti-inflammatory drugs, and the nanoparticles just gives this antibacterial effect. And now we try to create somehow that system, because the fiber structure what we are using is biocompatible and biodegradable. So it's not necessary to remove it and put another one, but it's also behave as a hydrogel like the collagen fibers in the extracellular matrix, and they can capture also a huge amount of liquid, which means that it helps to protect the skin when there is some damage because of the water evaporation. So everything together, this is what we try to figure out, how we can create that kind of wound healing application.
That sounds very interesting and very impressive, but I know this is not the only field that you lead in, not just in the lab and in the academic and research context. You are also the vice president of the Association of Hungarian Women in Science. Can you please tell us a little bit about this organization? What does it do? What is its purpose? And what is your role within it?
Yes, so actually the purpose was that, or the purpose is that if you see the percentage of women in STEM area, especially in Hungary, it's very low. So around 20%. There is a huge need from the industrial field to fill and create more and more engineers, because we don't have enough engineers. But especially in the engineer and in the STEM area, because of the low percentage of the women, we try to encourage the girls to turn to the STEM area, because they have a lot of opportunity in that area and they are as good as boys. So mostly we are focusing, we have different focus groups. One is the high school students, where we are creating special events where we just try to tell them that the STEM area is open for them. It's not just for the boys, it's good for them. So we had now more than 10 years a special day for them. It calls Girls' Day. And during that, for example, last year, we had more than 2,000 girls from high school age who can visit different industries. So they went there. This is an open day for them. They can go to Google, they can go to telecom and so on. So they can visit a lot of different areas. They can go to universities and just watch that what is going there, how they can fit there. And they can see that there are also women there. So there is other women who just enter that area and they can have them. So this is one important thing what we are doing. The other one is the so-called Smarties program. Smarties program is especially for girls in the age of 16. And this is a one-year mentoring program with Morgan Stanley, and is focusing to the girls to help them to improve their grade in math in the high school. But actually, this is a special mentoring program. So each girl has 2 mentors, and they are weekly just speaking with the mentor. They have small project together. They are working in small groups together. So it keeps for 1 year, and it's absolutely free for them. And it helps to, let's say, encourage them to turn what they want. They teach them how they can ask, dare to ask, because mostly this is a problem that the girls are much more shyer, especially if there are boys. So they don't dare to take questions, and they don't let's say, they don't feel enough courage to say that, okay, I'm as good as a boy, and so on. So this is our second focus. And we're also focusing on the women scientists, also in the young generation and not that young, let's say the senior version.
Oh, come on.
So we also try to create a group and a mentoring program, that how we can help to each other, and we are communicating to each other, and we are creating a network between the different scientists who are handling difficult situations. So this is what we try to do, empower the women in STEM area.
I mean, that sounds really incredible. I kind of wish that, you know, when I was younger, I had such opportunities, because it sounds absolutely wonderful when you can get that sort of guidance and seeing these people doing these things. I think it's very, very important. It sounds incredible. And I hear that last year you had an opportunity to visit the United States as part of the Hidden No More initiative, which is a part of the International Visitor Leadership Program, right?
Exactly.
And this was specifically organized for women leaders in various STEM fields. what was this program about? What opportunities did it offer you? What were your experiences during that time?
It was a funny situation because I was nominated by the embassy, the American embassy in Budapest, and I was at first a little bit shocked that why me? Why they picked me? Because I just got a phone call that, okay, there is this special Hidden No More program, and we want you to represent your country. And it was, in the beginning, it was a little bit shocking because they said that, okay, we cover everything, but for 3 weeks, you have to skip everything. You have to travel to the US and just forget about your work, because during the 3 weeks, we want to fill your head with a lot of nice experience. And when we arrived to Washington, the girl who just organized everything, she said that maybe you don't know why, but I picked you personally. And till the end of the 3 weeks, you will know why. And we visited 4 different cities. In Washington, we started with the National Geographic. They came to us, and there was 41 women from 41 countries.
Wow, impressive.
So everybody was from different area. There was some PIs, some CEOs, some girl from the airspace science, the other one from chemistry, and so on. So there was a really a wide area where we come from. And the National Geographic just mentioned to you that the most important thing is the storytelling. And I remember at the end of the day, everybody was, why should I tell my story to anybody? I'm just nobody. Why should I tell anybody my story? It's nothing interesting. And we kept going on. The storytelling is important. We visited Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, where I met Jessica Tozer, and she told me the same. Storytelling, you never know when you can impact on anybody, but you will. You will not know, maybe never, that you were the person who just created a shine, or you just give somebody, let's say, a virtual hug to keep going and let's do it. And she just told the story to us that how she just got a feedback. Then she was a soldier, and she visited some very small village in Africa, and she was playing with little girls. And 10 years later, she got an envelope when the little girl was not anymore a little girl. And she just mentioned that because of that meeting, she became a soldier, she became a scientist, and now she is a leader. And you know, at the beginning, I just thought that, okay, it's a very nice American happy ending something, but Americans can do it very nicely. And then we went to Durham. This is a research triangle area where the first Black bank and the first Black university and everything was established. And at that place, we met a girl who was mentioning us that her passion is to create STEM camps for girls in the age of 9 and 10. And I was so shocked that why she is working with that small girls. Because usually what we are doing in Hungary, we are visiting high school students, and we are discussing them that what is your vision, what you want to become, and we just try to tell them and so on. And for me, it was very weird that they are working with so young generation. And it kept going through the 3 weeks when we just ended up in LA, and there was a special roundtable discussion with the UCLA, the Mattel, and some other company. And also Disney, yes. And the guy from the Mattel, he just showed me a video. I don't know that you know or not, but it's called Dream Gap. I really suggest to watch it. Make sure you have enough tissue with you. So it touched me very well. And he mentioned that they have plenty of research that if you want to show the girls that STEM area is for everybody, the most sensitive area, the most sensitive age range is between 5 and 12. So if we are just working with high school students, we are absolutely just lost.
Too late already?
Too late. It's already too late, yeah. So for me, it was a shocking period that at the end of the last 3 weeks. So during that period, I just recognized that storytelling is really something what I have to do. I never thought about that, but I really have to do. And also to work with this young generation. Previously, I never thought about that I should focus on that young generation.
That is such a moving story. And I think a lot of incredible messages were there and a lot of incredible experiences. And I know that nowadays, this is something that you also do besides all of your other responsibilities. You started a project called STEMüveg, right? And as part of this initiative, you visit various schools in Hungary, primary schools. And what you do is you have a team of volunteers, including your husband, if that's correct.
Exactly.
And you guys introduce and show exciting scientific experiments. You do interactive presentations for the students. This is supported by the U.S. Department of State's Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs, even. How did you end up starting this initiative, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, actually, it was funny because when we just say hi to each other in US, the main organizer just told us that, please keep your eyes open because now you learn a lot. And if you have a good idea, we will find somehow the money for that. And when I just came back, I started speaking with my husband, and I have a really supportive community around me in my lab. So I started speaking with one of my former PhD student, who is now an assistant professor, and he just came back from the US after the postdoc. And I just kept telling them that I think we should do something because it's important. For me, it's shocking to work with that really young generation, but let's try it. And actually, my former PhD student told me that, what about STEMüveg? And I said, okay, I got it. I want this name. I want this name. And when we just start speaking about that, one of my PhD students was there, and she said that, oh, can I join? Oh, it's really interesting. I really want to be part of that project. So in the springtime, we start to monitor, which meant that we visited kindergarten. We visited elementary schools with the age of 6 to 12. And finally, it turned out that, especially for Hungary, the most sensitive range is the 9 and 10 age. Because the earlier, they are still too small and they cannot focus that much. But after the year of 10, when they just start the 5th grade, they become much more shy. And they don't want to participate that much. The experiments, they just, oh, yeah, I'm looking, but I don't want to do, and so on. So we just figured out that our focused group is in the 3rd and the 4th grade during the elementary schools. So I applied for that special project or the special grant. I got it. And from July, we have the background money to buy all these stuffs. And what we are doing is that every second week, we are going to an elementary school and we are working 4 or 5 different classes. So roughly more than 100 students per day. And we are doing experiments, 90% what they can repeat at home. So we are working with soam, with talcum powder. We are using balloons. So nothing special. We are using candies and do these kind of stuffs. Right. But all of them is, fast experiments. They can see immediately the result, and we just capture them. And we usually ask them to draw something to us. And it's amazing when we just get back these drawings and we really recognize that we captured them. And for me, the best was that 4 weeks ago, we visited a very small village, which was more than 200 kilometers far from Budapest. So it took a lot of time to reach there. Yeah. And 2 days after our visit, the teacher just sent us a link that one of the 9-year-old boy just created a TikTok video where he shows one of the experiments, what we did together. So for me, it was really something what touched me very much.
That sounds like something which can be very rewarding. Now,
exactly.
For you, what are the main rewards? And perhaps what are the challenges of running something like this?
The challenges is that the grant is finishing in the end of January. And of course, we want to...
U.S. Department of State, please.
or Hungarian anyway. So actually the challenge is that how we can deal this next to a job like a university teacher, because you have to go to the elementary school during our work days. So I have a really supportive boss who told us that, okay, yes, I let you go. It doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure that it's worth it. So it's very as I just mentioned, I have a very supportive community in my back. So the most challenge is how we can manage to visit the kids next to our job and how we can continue that after the grad, because now we have almost everything to continue.
Right.
The human power or the human resources, what is missing. And now we think about that, how we can grow up a little bit to capture more volunteers. But it's always a person who can, let's say, do the show for the kids. And this person is very important. So now we are doing 4 of us, and we are very good. Like, like a theater. We know exactly that when I'm ending a sentence, the other one is starting. So there is really just a show. And the kids didn't notice that this is, let's say, a show. And the biggest challenge is that how we can continue that. Because for sure that after the grant, we already had at least 4 invitations from different schools, and we will go there, but maybe not more, just once a month.
I understand.
My supportive community who is doing this STEMüveg with me is not just my husband, Angéla Jedlovszky, but as I mentioned, my former PhD student, Kristóf Molnár, and my PhD students, Sarolta Halmóczky. So the 4 of us, I think we are working to a very good group together, and we enjoy to spend time with the kids.
That sounds absolutely incredible. It sounds like a very unique way to contribute to your community, and I really hope you have the opportunity to continue this initiative in the future as well. Now, we've talked about so many incredible things that you do today, and I am sure that you serve as a role model to a lot of young people, especially young scientists, especially young women who want, to be in STEM and in research. But what about you? Who are the people in your life that maybe you look up to, or who are role models for you?
Yeah, actually, my supervisor, she is one of the role model for me, Etelka Tombác, as I just mentioned in the beginning, that she showed me a lot of things, how I can deal with science and also with my family life. And actually, before that, I also had another mentor. I did a student scientific research before I start to work with my supervisor. And at that time, my mentor was also a lady, Marta Szekeres. And she was an extremely incredible person because she hated the teaching activities and she wasn't that good in teaching activities, but she was an extremely good scientist and also person. So she taught me a lot of advices. I'm not sure that she knew that she is giving an advice to me. She was just speaking and telling me her life and so on. So I learned a lot that how I can be a human and how I can deal with the people, how I can deal with my students and how I can protect them from the real life and just create a small bubble to them and protect them and try to keep them in this bubble to grow up and make sure that they can leave the bubble. So this 2 lady was really an important person for me. And also Jessica Tozer, as I just mentioned, the girl from the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Labs, who is actually a social media manager. So she is not a scientist, but she just, told me something. It was settled in my mind. And I just figured out that actually she just gave me some path where to go.
That sounds incredible. It sounds like, from your story, there's a lot of serendipity present, a lot of these, what I like to call magical coincidences that lead to these incredible new journeys.
I mentioned a lot of women, but I also have to mention males because, because they also had me. So actually, when I joined to the laboratory of nanochemistry, my boss was Miklós Vrényi. And He's an extremely nice person. Actually, I remember that when I just came back from my maternity leave, I was a little bit depressed that how I can handle my family life and the research. And I just remember that the third time when I got a phone call from the kindergarten that my daughter is ill, I have to go there, pick her. I couldn't go to this to my workplace and so on. I just called him almost crying that I cannot go to my workplace because my daughter, and he told me that, come on, I have 3 daughters, 5 grandson and daughter. I can understand everything. Go home, get healthy, and everything can wait for you. Don't worry. Just make sure that you will be okay. So he was extremely supportive. He helped me a lot. And also Professor Kellermeyer helps a lot to me. So he is also very supportive, especially because he letting us to go to the elementary schools. And he also just try to give us as many support as we can. So these two.
That sounds like amazing, you know, attitude. And I think it would be great to have more of that in various workplaces for families, for mothers especially. That's really quite remarkable. You really shine in so many different roles. You are a scientist, a mentor, educator, you are a leader and a mother. How do you manage all of these responsibilities that you have?
Most of the time I fear that I cannot manage and I cannot handle, but somehow it's just turned out that it's working. So I think I can tell that a supportive family is very important. My husband is also a scientist, so he understands clearly if I say that I just stuck in the lab, I cannot go home. Can you please just collect our daughter and so on? And our 2 big kids, they also helps a lot. So I think without a supporting community and background, it cannot work. But because everybody is really supportive in my family and in my workplace, this is the only thing how I can manage it. But yes, it means that mostly I'm working during the weekends, sometimes in the evenings, sometimes in the nights. But actually, I got all the time. I'm getting a lot of positive feedbacks from the students, from the university students, from my PhD students, from everybody. So I think this is helping a lot. And also, I'm a positive person, so I'm always laughing, I'm always smiling. This is me. So if something bad happened, I'm usually just start laughing that, okay, that's my life as usual, nothing happened. So I think, but this is because of the supportive background.
I see. And it sounds like attitude is also very important.
Yes, attitude is very important.
I see. Now, before we wrap up this incredible talk for today, do you have any advice for future generations, for young people, maybe specifically for young girls and women who would like to pursue a career in STEM and research?
Actually, my advice is pick a mentor, not a topic, because I think this is the biggest mistake what most of the students can handle, that they are picking an interesting topic, but they are not looking for a good mentor, because good mentor can teach the basics. And if you have the basics, after you can move on for the topic what you are interested in. But at first, you have to have a very strong background, what only a good mentor can give you. And if you fear that you got everything from the mentor, then just thank it and move on. Because the mentor will understand that you already grow up and this is the time to leave. So I think this is the advice what I can give, that pick the correct mentor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your life story, your incredible insights, and sharing your advice with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
If you found this episode as inspiring and insightful as we did, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends and colleagues. Join us next time as we continue to explore the journeys of incredible women shaping the future of scientific research. Until then, keep asking questions, stay curious, and be the change that you wish to see in the world. Thanks so much for listening, and see you next time.